Today, we're jumping into a story that really bends genres. It's part psychological thriller, part historical epic, and it's a romance that stretches across 5 whole centuries. We're breaking down Dr. Livia Rosenberg's incredible novel, 500 Years from You.
So, at its very core, the whole novel asks this one really profound question. Can a connection between two people be so powerful that it survives not just distance, but time itself? We're talking centuries here.
And according to the author himself, this is not your typical love story. This isn't just a boy meets girl kind of thing. It's a soul meets soul story. So it's operating on a much, much deeper level.
Okay, so what does a soul meets soul story actually look like? Let's dive into the premise, because honestly, it hooks you right away by challenging just about everything we think we know about science, psychology, and, well, human connection.
So let's meet David Stern. This guy is a man of science. He's a clinical psychologist who lives and breathes logic and hard evidence. But his entire world gets flipped upside down when he starts to realize this intense connection he feels with his new patient, Kate. It's not just empathy, it's something else. It feels like an echo from a past they somehow shared together.
Now, the author builds this whole incredible idea on a concept called cellular memory. And look, while this is more in the realm of fiction than, hard science, the book uses it to ask a fascinating question. Just think about it for a second. What if those super intense emotions we sometimes feel, those fears you can't explain, or that instant connection you feel with a stranger, what if they aren't even ours? What if they're just echoes from a past life, something that's still waiting to be resolved?
And these echoes, they're not just faint whispers. No, they are tied to some of the absolute toughest moments in human history. Because this love story, it doesn't just happen once. It happens over and over and over again. The story weaves together 3 totally different timelines. We're talking the sheer terror of the Spanish Inquisition back in 1580, the desperate voyage of the SS St. Louis in 1939, and then finally modern-day Miami, which is where this whole saga is supposed to finally find its resolution.
So you might be asking, why these specific moments in time? Well, the author explains that he chose periods where humanity itself was basically on trial, where people were being hunted and forced to run for their lives just because of who they were. These are moments of ultimate test.
And this really gets to the heart of the whole idea, right? Whether it's the robes of the inquisitors or the uniforms of their persecutors centuries later, the look of oppression changes. But that fundamental human struggle to survive and the soul's desperate search for its other half, that stays exactly the same. It's timeless.
So all of this builds up to the central conflict of the story. And this is where it really shifts gears and becomes a true psychological thriller, with stakes that are just unbelievably high.
Think about a normal romance novel. The big obstacles are usually what? A job in another city? Or maybe a simple misunderstanding? Well, in this novel, the obstacle is a little more intense. David realizes that the man his soulmate Kate is about to marry is the reincarnation of the very same evil that ripped them apart in 1580 and then again in 1939.
This forces David into a completely impossible situation. He has to make a choice that goes right to the core of who he is. Does he trust his rational mind, the very thing his entire career is built on? Or does he listen to his spirit, this feeling he can't explain but knows with absolute certainty is real?
So here's the real dilemma. He's her therapist. He can't just come out and say, hey, we were lovers 500 years ago, and by the way, you're about to marry our eternal tormentor. That would be a complete disaster, a catastrophic breach of professional ethics. It would destroy his career, everything he's worked for. But if he says nothing, he condemns her soul and his own to repeat this awful, tragic history for a third and maybe a final time. The weight of 5 centuries is literally on his shoulders.
Part of what makes this whole story feel so authentic and powerful is that its themes are really deeply rooted in the author's own life. This isn't just some story he made up. A lot of it is drawn directly from his personal history.
See, Dr. Rosenberg is the son of Holocaust survivors. So he grew up with this deep, profound understanding that trauma, and also love, can be inherited, that it can be passed down through generations. And his own life, living in Colombia, the US, Israel, and Panama, has given him this unique perspective on what it means to be displaced and separated. It all lends a really powerful, authentic voice to his character's struggles as refugees across time.
So, after all of this trauma, all of this separation across hundreds of years, what's the big takeaway? Well, the answer is kind of hidden in plain sight, right there in the title of the book.
500 years. At first, when you hear the title 500 Years from You, it sounds almost like a punishment, doesn't it? Like a sentence of separation, just a long, lonely wait. But that's not what it really means at all.
The title is actually a testament to their incredible connection. It represents the unbelievable distance across 5 centuries of chaos and history that their souls have traveled just to finally find each other again. It's a story about the profound resilience of love.
And that brings us to the book's powerful, central message, summed up perfectly by the author himself. After the Inquisition, after the Holocaust, after all of it, the one thing that's constant, the one force that actually endures, is love. The author really hopes this story makes you look at your own life just a little bit differently. So I'll leave you with this question to think about. Have you ever met someone and felt that instant, inexplicable connection? That feeling of déjà vu? Maybe, just maybe, you've known them before.